Okay, I'm making this video. This is a 1997 Carrier gas furnace AC combo. Alright, making this video for me for the next time I have to mess with this thing. I have for 6 years people have been telling me, you gotta buy a new one. But I've been replacing the components and it still runs. True, a newer unit would be more economically feasible, but for my wallet, I like replacing stuff. Need the money today. So here we go. Problem we're having here is this little box right here. This box, the valves tend to be sticky. The solenoid seems to be weak, but I got it kind of spruced back up into shape. If you take these 4 screws off the top, hose there, go ahead and take out that little adjustment pilot so you can get the gasket off safely. This thing comes apart and it's pretty simplistic. It has a spring-loaded steel valve on this side that's actuated by those 2 wires there, red being the hot one, black being the common, which all solenoids share common ground. The actual main power coming into this unit is that yellow and brown wire there, and everything kind of spurs off from there. You also have a pilot light system down there. It's a 3-wire. The yellow is the power going in. There's a double switch there at the bottom. It's the actual magic of the whole system. What it does is it holds down one part of the switch that allows this electric box right here to send out a nice little 100,000, 10,000 volts. I don't know. I'm not an electrician exactly, but I know how to identify a power source and figure out a broken part. But that little box also leads down to that white wire with the black going into it, and it ignites the pilot light. It also has one of those nice little spring-loaded temperature switches, which activates that actual double switch there and allows that to happen. Then it shuts off the electrode, so it can then send power to these switches again, which opens that, sends your gas through the main pilot. Everything should ignite and go. After that, this nice little brown wire that goes up here to this little time delay switch box right there, well, that then will come on after this one does, which this is also a spring-loaded switch that requires some heat, and then it moves the switch, and then all of a sudden, voila, the magic happens. Again, time delay relay kind of explains it. See those 2 purple wires? Yeah, I kind of touched those with the stuff on. Holy moly, I got hit. Don't suggest messing around with any of that stuff. I could taste pennies for a while after it. So this is what I found out about this thing. Basically, shut your gas off there. Shut that guy off, service all this stuff, clean it up. I found that the plunger was leaking a little, which allowed the pilot light to continually bleed gas, but the problem was cooler would shut off, pilot light go out, then I'd get raw gas bleed out. Wouldn't bleed into the house, bleed out through the top. But what a waste of money if you're trying to save money. Obviously, that's what I'm doing here. So what I ended up finally doing was taking this whole thing apart, pulling the solenoid that is out from underneath that, putting it back on, re-gluing it, and then I put a little grease on the bottom, and then that kind of created like a plunger seal. That might be good, might be bad, I don't know. Axle grease and natural gas, I don't see anything detrimental right there, but again, I'm not a chemist either. Did the same thing on this little plunger, and the big thing is these valves where they touch the seals, this guy here, also that guy is not really a valve, but wherever that tang is for being heated up, that's all your timing right there. So those things are real finicky on being really precise on where they're supposed to be. If they're too tightly pressed up, it takes forever for it to turn on. If it's too loose, it turns on too soon. So you kind of got to go back and forth, bending that little tang around and making sure it has a light seal and not really a really heavy one, and not a super light one on top of that. I'd been up here for 3 days finicking around with it, but I'm not an AC man or electrician. But again, identify your power source, trace it back with a good volt meter, make sure you know what's going on, find the sequence, dig into it. Anybody can figure it out. It's all nuts and bolts. Alright, usually your problem I found tinkering with this thing a couple times is that nice little igniter pilot light back there. That gentleman right there, I've had to replace that once. Not a big deal. I think somewhere under $100. That's what it was. Again, this thing I think I'm going to replace next, but not finding too many good parts except for on eBay. Again, once you can't find this and you're forced to buy in a new unit. But to salvage it a little bit, dig it open, grease those things up. It might work. These adjustments I found, I put it about halfway, full on. Boy, it really roars the gas in there. All the way out, it bleeds the gas in there, so halfway sounds like a good one. Looks like it's about 30 turns down from the very top to the bottom, so I went about 15. This guy is only going to be 4 turns. It's underneath that screw. You'll find another little plastic. Need a small flat head to get to it. But it does 4 turns. 2 out's fine, but I actually put mine all the way down now because I was dealing with this. And you know, now that I have it all working and running properly, it snaps right up and goes right to it. It clicks once, ignites the pilot, and then sends the info back here, and this goes off in about 20 seconds, and then my fan go ahead and, which is the blower fan, which is on the other side of the wall here, kicks on in about 5 seconds after that. Probably could move that switch there to be a little bit later so it gets a little bit more heat, but you know what, I've done a couple days without heat here, and I'm gonna leave it alone. As long as I don't have the dangerous gas leak, I'm gonna go with it. Let's see, anything else here? Also replaced that box once, and that helped something. That top screw there has a ground on the back side. It needs to be on the box. That I had to play with a couple times. It was a pain in the butt, but once I finally found out it needed to be grounded back there, everything started working smooth. So on this unit, it looked like capacitors were an issue a couple of times. I just cleaned that contacts up. I've never replaced any of those little time delays or that, but just cleaned up the contacts. That seemed to help everything out. I use copper instead of aluminum. I'm in a dire emergency here to get some damn heat in this house, and my brother seems to know a little bit about this, and he said it shouldn't oxidize, but the other option was steel to get now, and that wasn't going to be a good one. He said it would rust. So if you can find aluminum, that's what usually came with that. But I just went with 1/2-inch copper, and you know what? Everything seems to be sealing up right. And again, not a chemist, but I don't think there'll be any problems. Alright guys, this is for you and mainly me. I'm going to seal this thing up. Make sure those if you ever pop that top cover off to get to the coil fins under there, make sure you seal it up real good, because I think that's some of my problem is I'm getting a little bit of, you know, drips from here over on the other side, and so seal that up, and that'll keep these components from getting, you know, any shorted out, because it seems like every time it rains I was having a problem with this thing, and I'm pretty sure that was the main culprit, was those wires right down there, which I'm thinking I might have got water. So you know, again, this video's for me, and hopefully it's helps you a little. Let me give you a close-up of all so you can see that blue wire connects to the top of that. It's power wire. Those commons are all connected, and I ran those right on up to a wire nut there that comes off that, leads on into that. You guys are gonna have to mess with the rest. Alright, talk to you later.